Hi guys, welcome to Rated M for Moms podcast. Your host Alex
and Devin.
Woo-hoo!
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Awesome. I'm feeling like a little bit okay.
How's your day going?
Yes, it's great. Thank you. How about yours?
Perfect. So introduce yourself. Give everybody kind of like an insight to who you are.
Sure, absolutely. So my name is Charlotte Jones, and I live in South Africa, and I am a coach for working homeschool moms, and I also homeschool my neurodivergent twin boy.
Ooh, that sounds like whoo.
I don't know if I have one. I don't know if I could have did two at a time.
It's hard at the beginning, but I think it gets easier quicker though, because they play with each other.
Oh yeah, so it's not like what's it called? Like when you have one and then you have another one, and you have to wait for the infant to be able to play with the other one. Yes,
exactly. To catch up.
I was like, I would have two and be done, a boy and a girl, and be like, and then I ended up having singles. It didn't run in my family, so
there's a potential for me to have twins.
Ugh.
There's a potential. Because one of his siblings would have been a twin, but the other one, it was something crazy that happened in the womb. So the other one didn't make it. So he could have been a twin though. So like it's one of those ones that like
there's a chance is there.
But you can also wait like a little bit. Apparently, my gynecologist said the older you get as well, the more chance there is. So there's that possibility too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And they always say
that, I guess 45? 45.
God, that's I want to be enjoying life.
For sure. You're like, I'm done now. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm literally done now. But yeah, I guess that's why they would say that it would be like they tell women once they get like to a certain age that it's like a high risk.
Sure.
So I guess if one baby would be a lot, so two baby would be even more severe.
Before we even ask your questions, what is it like living in South Africa?
Oh, it's awesome.
Oh, yes.
Yes. It's beautiful. I live in a very, very lovely place. I live in a small town right next to the ocean, so it's very nice. I don't know. I mean, everybody has kind of ideas about what South Africa is like. I don't know what you've heard.
I have both folks. I have seen, like, they're like, oh, this is what Africa looks like. And I'm like, I'm sure that's not what Africa looks like. And then I follow someone who travels around the world, and they go to places, and they go to Africa. So I'm like, I know this is definitely not what Africa looks like with this side over here. So I'm like, it looks so nice. It looks beautiful. I want to go to these places. So I was asking.
Yeah, no, and I suppose because it's so different, like north and south, I guess as well. It's it's a huge continent. There's so many different countries, but we are like the most developed country, I guess, in the continent, South Africa. So it's quite yeah. I mean.
And then, what was your reasoning for wanting to homeschool in Africa?
Well,
I mean, do they have?
Unfortunately, yeah.
No, keep going.
It's unfortunately once the kids were diagnosed, it was just our education system is not so good. So either you have to spend like loads and loads and loads and loads of money, and like so they wanted us to have like a facilitator for each boy. You know, like I can imagine. Well, from what I've heard in US schools, like that would be included. You know, you would have somebody like a teacher's aide or whatever to help. We had to pay for that ourselves, and then you have to pay like huge amounts of fees as well. So that was kind of the first consideration, to be honest, is that this is going to be like insanely expensive. Let's see if we can do it ourselves rather. And yeah, it just worked really, really well, and the kids have thrived since then.
It's good. That's awesome. Yeah. See, that's the thing that comes into play, is that everywhere is so different, and that even though like here we're just like, wow, there's there's so many problems, but like in other countries and things like that, like I know in the UK, like they're having so much trouble for their neurodiverse children and in schools, and like not giving them the things that they need, or you know what I mean, like having facts that the kids need the things and they're not giving them. And then there's here where it's like either teachers are quitting, they don't want to give them to them. But granted, some of the things are at least covered. But in other countries, I didn't know that you would have to, you know, like necessarily come out of pocket for it. Just thinking that, like, I guess kind of like the education system would be universal, I guess, type of thing. So that's different to see or to know.
Yeah. And I mean, if you think about Europe, though, in Europe, homeschooling is illegal, like illegal, go to jail illegal in lots of countries in Europe. So lots of people, like I also teach English online. I have students who are in Italy who are teachers as well. And those kids just, I mean, the teachers are like not trained. Those kids have no choice but to stay there, which is quite hectic, I think. At least we have a possibility. And America as well, obviously, you can homeschool quite easily. And for us too. But imagine being told like it is illegal to homeschool. I mean, it's quite hectic then.
I don't know anybody. I mean, I started homeschooling my kids this year in February, but I don't know any kids that are in the UK that are being homeschooled. I just know like they're trying to from social media like do a reform for them. And just like fighting for their rights and fighting for them to get like services that they need in the education system. But I didn't know it was illegal.
Well,
I thought that was
the
a choice.
The UK is still fine. The UK, Ireland, I think as well, but it's like Italy, Spain, those like that side of Germany, I know as well, definitely illegal. But I mean, Germany has a good education system, so they can really offer like inclusive education, which I guess is the idea for everybody, right? Is that you don't want to take the kids out. You want them to be included in society but unfortunately, often they get othered if the teachers aren't trained, if there's no provision for them. Obviously, Germany is a very wealthy country, so they can afford that. But like countries for us, I mean, and I'm lucky, I'm super privileged. I mean, there are lots of people in my country who are not as privileged as I am. Kids are just shoved through the system because there's no other choice.
Wow.
The system is flawed.
No, absolutely. That's the thing. It's hectic. The education system, it's hard to manage an education system properly. You need just tons and tons and tons of money, I think, right?
Yeah. You do. And especially if you want a good education for your children. You need to be rich, honestly.
Yeah, you honestly need to have.
You need to have lots and lots of money to make sure that it is like they're getting everything they need. They have the services that they need. They're actually getting an education. Yeah. And like you do. So it's a lot.
I mean, granted, for us, at least we've been able to get like a scholarship to help with like curriculum and the things that the kids
awesome.
like need. But I really feel like if that wasn't there and we had to homeschool, I mean, there's other things, but like it would just be a very slow progress to get there. But outside of that, like them doing their therapies and everything, that at least has been good. Easier.
So,
yeah.
Diagnosis of your neurodivergent children, how did you go about it?
Well, it was maybe also a reason why I don't like school so much. This teacher that we had where they were in, is it pre-K, I think you call it, right? Before they start? Pre-K, right?
Yes.
And she just literally said, there's something wrong with your kids. I was like, what? I was like, no, that's what I mean. People are not trained. I went into like a deep depression after that because I was like, you know, it's when it's thrown at you like that and, you know, you don't have time to process it or anything like that. I mean, obviously you have kind of an idea, but I mean, that was back in 2017. I guess not as much spoken as it is now. It was quite a shock, to be honest. And she was just like, bleh, and I was like, oh my gosh, deep depression. But then I guess you kind of have to accept, right? I mean, acceptance, you've got to go through like those stages, don't you? You have to like grieve, I think, because you always have these expectations about what your kids are going to be like. They're going to be doctors, they're going to be lawyers, they're going to be doing all these things. And, you know, especially if you come, like I come from a very academic family and all that kind of stuff. And in a way, it's actually been good because it's taken off the pressure. I can just let them be who they are. And I think it's actually such a great gift, that in the long run.
I love that.
Yeah, I say it all the time. Like, and it was one of those ones that you do end up grieving because this is what you thought they were going to be, and it's what you expect. This was your expectations for your kids.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those ones that, like, those can technically still be your expectations. It'll be just a little different. It may take them a little bit longer to get there, or it might be that maybe he won't be a doctor, but he can be like underneath the doctor. You know?
Yeah.
Like, they can still be those things, but it's a process. Cause like you grieve the child that you thought you were gonna get, and then you grieve like all the things that you like hoped for, wanted to do, wanting to like all those things, and then it comes into like that acceptance, like, oh, this is my kid. My kid is my kid, and my kid can do great things, even if it's not the things that I was expecting them to do.
Yes.
Absolutely,
like
yeah.
That's a huge
both
thing.
of your twins are neurodivergent?
Yeah. I think it's quite common with twins apparently as well. It's quite a high percentage, I think, with twins.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was high. I thought there was always like one that was not, and then there was one that was.
Well, there's
No, they give it all to you. Let's have a double at the same time. There we go.
That's actually that she'd be the second person, because the only other person that I know that's like out on social media is Letters to Nick and Noah, who both have autism, and they're twin boys. So
I wonder if it's more common in twin boys than it is in twin girls.
I don't know. She has an older daughter, and then she had 2 twin boys, and both the twin boys have autism. So
yeah, I think my husband did the research. I think he did say that, but then so they both are on the spectrum, but the one is ADHD as well, though. So it's like there is, I can't remember what it's called. I saw it the other day where the two of them are joined together. It's a new name which I also just discovered recently. So so in a way they're kind of different though in that respect, because ADHD kind of shows itself in a different way than
different forms.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Presents. That's the word. Presents in a different way. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, I have 2 that are on the spectrum. They're literally 16 months apart. But how I explain them to people when they're like, "Oh, both of your kids on the spectrum," I'm like, yeah, they both have autism and they both have ADHD. And I was like, well, how I explain it to people, because they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, so my oldest, the autism is stronger than the ADHD. And then in my middle, the ADHD is stronger than the autism.
But it's that spectrum though, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's such a big spectrum. I'm always like, you know, you can't say it's this and this. And, you know, people want to say, oh, so your kids are like savants and super like genius. I'm like, no, they're actually quite normal in that respect. You know, they're not like geniuses. Just because you assume it's because the spectrum is so wide.
It's so wide. And like,
exactly.
I have one that is normal. Like, he's a regular kid.
Yeah.
And I have one who is technically a savant because he took the test.
Oh, wow.
He didn't finish the test, and he got 112. That's his IQ, 112 at 8.
My goodness. That's amazing. Oh, that's so cool. So much fun.
Finish the test.
Yeah, I know, right?
So, like, if he would have finished the test, because literally his anxiety and his ADHD didn't let him finish. So I'm sure that his score probably would have been higher if he finished the test. So he's sitting at 112 with an incomplete test.
That's amazing. Wow.
Look, let me tell you something.
So
it is awesome.
He obviously he's smarter than me. I learn things from him all the time. And it's a wild ride to be a parent to a kid who's 8, who has autism and ADHD, and where his autism shows is that he can't relate to his peers, and his social cues are off, and like he can't relate to his peers. And then it doesn't help that he also can't relate to his peers because, well, he's technically smarter than all his peers, and the things that he wants to talk about,
they have no idea what they're talking about.
So it's a wild ride because it's one of those ones that how do I manage? How do I manage? So I try to like let him do all the things that the kids are doing, even though those things really don't interest him.
Yeah.
So I try I try to let him like Minecraft, and I try to let him do this and that and this and that, because really what he wants to talk about is insects. And every now and then he'll talk about Beyblade, but those two, insects in space, he can talk to you about those all day long.
Oh, I love that.
All
Yeah.
day long.
I think it's so cool. Yeah.
All the planets and tell you what the planets are, how they do this and how they do that, and this, and this. Another 8-year-old doesn't care about the planet.
The other 8-year-old is like, yeah, there's the moon and the sun. Yeah, I know that one.
Sure. But that's the thing, they can complement each other, obviously. But you said they're 16 months apart, you said. And do they get along well with each other? 2 boys.
I have 2 boys, so it's twofold. My middle, because of his ADHD, he's very, very controlling. So he wants you to play how he thinks you're supposed to be playing. How, if he sees it in his mind, this is how it's supposed to go. My 9-year-old, who is just a regular old kid, he doesn't play to win. He plays to just play. He still is very in his imagination, can imagine his play. So, like, they bump heads because my oldest is like, I don't want to play like that. My guy, like, I don't know what. I'm just here to be here. But then they do get along, and they have moments where, like, they play beautifully and they play for hours. And I think it's one of those ones where when they play beautifully and they play for hours, I think my middle lets go of the controlling aspect and lets his brother take the lead and joins into that imaginative play. And then when he is on board with that, like, how my oldest wants to do it and how it's, like, being played and what he sees in his mind, I think that's when they get to play, and they can play for hours together, and they play greatly.
And it's a good thing.
And it's a great thing. But it's literally 50-50. They have their own rooms because at some point my oldest is like, okay, guys, please can you leave my room because you're doing too much? And we say, hey, he said, can you leave his room? And then they separate. But most of the time, it's okay.
Mine fight like mad, though, because that's so interesting because the one son is very controlling as well. That's the thing. And that is so true. It's so much to do with the ADHD. I suppose because there's so much anxiety and there's so much noise, I guess, going on. But he definitely also needs to control. And Oscar's my other son, and he's just like, I need some space, please. I need some breathing room, please. And the other one's like in his face, like, I love you, I want to play with you all the time.
Let's play!
Let's play all the time, 24 hours a day.
That's it. That's literally what I have at 6 months apart. Like, and it's literally, and some days my oldest is just like through with his brother because his brother can literally have like 1 foot in his room. He's like, oh no, I don't want you in my room. I don't want you in my room. I don't want you in my room. I don't want you in my room.
Oh, shame. It's hard though.
I didn't even come all the way in yet.
Yeah, I barely stepped here. Nope, just turn around, walk away. It's been a day. I need to decompress.
So, yeah.
Homeschooling as an option for your neurodiverse children.
Yeah, we talked about it. Like,
yeah.
You're fortunate to have that as an option. Because you have. Why did you turn that off?
She's watching something in Spanish. How do you manage working and homeschooling your neurodivergent children?
That's my favorite topic. That's why I coach people on. And I think it can be quite, I suppose, even just homeschooling and working, I mean, neurotypical kids. I mean, I think it can be super overwhelming when people think, okay, I'm working and I'm going to add in this extra layer of homeschooling. But I think actually the homeschooling is like the easy part, though. I mean, I think as moms in general, time management is something that we all need to like do well, right? I mean, we all need to know how to, do all the things and juggle all the things and stuff like that. So I think people get intimidated by the homeschooling. I know you started in February. I mean, how did you feel when you started? I mean, it seems like such a big task, I think. But for me, it's always like, that's the easy part, to be honest.
Honestly, I have 4. So I was just like, I'll either tell myself that I'm going to do this, or I'm going to chicken out and not do this, because that's usually how it goes. Either I'm going to be all in or I'm going to be all out. So I jumped all in with doing it. It took me some time because I found people on social media who were doing it. I researched the laws for Florida, looked at different curriculums, saw what people were doing, just researched on Google. And then when I also asked my children if they would like to be homeschooled as well, to take it all into play. And then once I was just like, okay, I mean, I outweighed the good and the bad. I was just like, I mean, I'm ready to do it. It's been something that I wanted to do with my son when we first started school, when we first moved here to Florida, and we bought this home. I was like, I want to homeschool my kids. And then they went into school anyways, and it was always something in the back of my mind. And then I was like, I mean, it's still here. It's still something that I would like to do. I mean, I might as well try it. I can say that I tried it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least I said that I did it. And then we tried it. We did it. It was a little like lots of balance in the beginning. Now with the new school year starting, I think I've managed it pretty well. I make sure that like my mornings are clear for me to just sit there and do the work with them. And we got a curriculum and like things are going. We made a little homeschool room in our living room. And I feel like time management is definitely something that I need to work on, because I will sit there sometimes and just be in the moment with them. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's 1:00. I didn't do anything. Or I have other stuff to do like this podcast, and also trying to work from home as well. So the time management part, definitely, I think I need help in. But I mean, I love it. My kids haven't said that, you know, they don't love it. So we're continuing doing it. So
yeah, absolutely. And you brought up so many good points that I always try to tell people is like, you got to know your why, right? Is like a biggie. It's got to be a priority, because it's going to be so impossible if you're being forced to do it, or if you're not into it, or your kids are not into it. I think that's such an important point. It's like being crystal clear about your why, and then like and also like being really present, I think, because that's really nice though, if you could be like in the moment, because often people are like homeschooling but they're on emails or whatever like that. I think just like setting real boundaries around your time, I think is such a good thing. So like when you're with your kids, you're like, okay, I'm with my kids now. I'm not emailing. I'm not doing anything. We're here. We're together. And I think that's such an important point of like a successful homeschool is like, okay, and then when mom needs to work, it's work time, but you've given them your attention and they feel like, you know, I've had attention and things like that. And then you can kind of do the work thing. I think that's a really big thing that people need to do, is also like the boundaries around their time. Oh, hello. So yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely been something, but I do love your packet that you have, that you offered. It gave a lot of good information for me.
Okay.
So that has been something that's been helping. So I guess the next one would be, do you want to say it or me?
Some time management tips you use in life to get it all done. We all need time management tips.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So that's also kind of part of it. So definitely know your why. I think being like knowing your priorities, and then I think also a bit like scheduling in your priorities, I think is super important, because sometimes we're like, oh, you know, I'm going to do self-care, but you never like put any of the time in your calendar. So then it's like, I haven't, I don't know, exercised or whatever in 3 months or whatever. So like, that's definitely a big one. It's like knowing what your priorities are, scheduling them into your day, like any other appointments. super. And even if it's like starting with really small, because I think it can be intimidating. There's a lot of mom guilt, if you're taking like time away from your kids and things like that. So I always say start super, super small and like build up till you feel a little bit more comfortable. Because not everybody can have who has the time to have 2 hours of self-care every day? It's not possible. But you can,
As a mom,
I feel like it's impossible.
Impossible.
Nice, but not as a mom. It doesn't happen. 2 hours.
No, let's be realistic now, right?
I get 5 minutes on the toilet by myself.
Yes,
because that's not all the time.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Absolutely. You're like, I'm going to make this count. This is going to be my
I'm going to make this 5 minutes count. Even if I can hear them still breathing, I'm going to make it count.
Scratching on the door. Fingers under the door as well. That's my favorite. Fingers under the door.
Can I just get the 5 minutes, please?
Or if someone can I just finish peeing?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even need the whole 5 minutes. Can I just finish peeing? Please.
Yes, exactly.
That's all I want to do. You get to go. You get to go all the time. Can I just go? I just need to go.
I cannot.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's definitely it. I think scheduling and the boundaries is a biggie. Definitely really important for time management, I would say. You got to learn to, I suppose, if I started quite young, so they kind of know that, this is work time, this is our time together. And like you're doing, you're very present whenever it's time with the kids. I think those are things that really, really help a lot with time management. And also just kind of sometimes just leaning into the mess and the craziness as well. Because that's something else that, like you said, okay, I'm just going to give homeschooling a try. And if it works, it doesn't work. So you didn't go in with like these super high expectations, because I think that also makes it like really stressful. If you're like, we're going to be doing like nature journaling and arts and crafts and things like that, because I know my kids hate that kind of stuff. They hate it. And I was like, when I started, I was like, why are my kids not doing this? Am I doing a bad job? So just like having like normal expectations, I think, just going with the flow sometimes, because mom life, homeschool mom, all kind of mom life is super messy sometimes. And I think it's just like embracing that is super important.
Embracing the ups and downs.
I like the knowing your why. I would love to homeschool, but I can only homeschool one of my children. I can only homeschool one. I can homeschool my oldest. He will be perfectly fine being homeschooled. 2020 gave us a small glimpse of like what homeschool could be, and my middle was like, I don't want you to be my teacher. I don't like you being my teacher. I would rather go back to school. And he legit was like, I don't like you being my teacher. I don't want you as my teacher. And it's not even his head. Are you spitting water? What are you doing?
She's spitting the water out.
No.
She says she's living her life. Her best life.
Embrace that mess. Yeah.
See, embrace it.
It's not even like I did, like, because they were saying that like 2020 school, internet school it's not homeschool. We didn't even do because they were in kindergarten. So like I definitely did not follow. Be on the Zoom for 4 hours, then do this and then do that. We didn't do that. We definitely took a more, you're going to be present and part of your Zoom just because you're in school and like it's like mandatory.
It's your attendance.
It's your attendance.
Yeah.
So we're going to be part of maybe an hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then we're going to log off and we're going to do
whatever we have to do.
Whatever we have to do. So like some workbooks and some sheets and like do this and do that. So we didn't even do like the full 2020, my kids in virtual school. We did like a more hands-off approach, and he still was like,
no, this ain't it for me.
I don't want you to be my teacher. In kindergarten, he was very, very like, no.
Yeah, I'm not about it with you.
I'd rather be in school. So we haven't took that leap because it would only be beneficial for one of my children. And it's one of those ones that like really what we really want to do is world school. So until we are able to world school, I feel like we're gonna stay where we are.
Yeah,
absolutely. But I think also, that's also something that comes up a lot. I think is it's absolutely okay to outsource. I think everything, like lots of people don't actually, they homeschool, but they don't homeschool their kids. I mean, you've got co-ops. Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got outschool. You've got loads of things.
Go, mommy. Go open the door. You don't want to go get her? Yeah. Because there's other things here, like you can do the co-ops.
Yes.
You can find other places to go and like take the kids for them to learn like different subjects. So we do like language arts, which is reading, spelling, writing. My one kid likes to write. My other kid does not. He's like, I'm not for this. You write it for me. And then I have one who hasn't even begun to write. So I have 4 of them. And my oldest is on the spectrum. And then my middle before my last one is on the spectrum. And they are completely opposites. I feel like the same exact way too. And then I have my daughter who we believe is on the autism spectrum. And then my middle in between the two has ADHD. So they're all different. They all have different wants, different needs. So that has, I think, one of the biggest challenges has been that, like how to do it. My ADHD, he's flourishing. He's reading. Yeah. He's putting the foot forward to like wanting to do the things. My oldest is just like, I feel like he's like teenager. He wants to be a teenager so bad that he just feels like he needs to be like this, what is it? Not rebellious, because it's not rebellious, but he's just like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, sir, once you start doing it, you're fine. You flourish in it, but you're just like, I don't want to do this, or I don't want to write. I don't want to this. And I'm like, okay. So when you're ready to sign a contract for your YouTube channel and you can't do it, I'm not doing it for you. But trying to incorporate like fun things that like he would be intrigued to like learning has been one of like my biggest things of trying to do, because once he's intrigued, it's like this.
Absolutely. That's another such an important thing, is like child-led learning, which works so well for neurodivergent kids, is really letting them lead, which is not so easy. I mean, it's not so easy as parents to just say, okay, you lead, because I don't know if you went to public school. I went to public school, and you were told what to do. You did not backtrack or, say, can we learn it a different way? So I think that's quite a big thing as well, is kind of learning to let go of that, of your control of their education as well, and letting them lead, because it works. I mean, for neurodivergent kids, it works incredibly well. And my kids don't write at all. I'm like, I'm like, is it really important? Are they going to need to write when they are computers? You know what I mean? When there's text to like voice to text or whatever, that's like too much resistance.
It's too much resistance, and that's the thing. So like, my middle hates writing too. It stresses him out to write.
Yeah.
And
hey girl,
he knows how. Again, he's IQ 112, so we all know he can write. We all know
he's capable of doing it.
We all know he's capable of doing it. He just hates doing it. So, for his accommodation is that he can have voice to text. Like that's what we're putting in his IP. And he'll be able to have voice to text. So then he can just say what he needs and it will write it out for him. Because why am I fighting him to write something when he can either verbally answer it to you, or he can tell it to something in the like I'm not going to have this battle and stress him out. He's already stressed enough as it is. As his own person, he's stressed. I don't need to stress him out over writing down your sentences or writing down your math problem when he can do the problem in his head. Like, I definitely am a component where whatever is English, whatever is less resistant, less resistive. Yeah. Like, I know my oldest read. He doesn't like to read. He feels like reading is below him. I don't know. It's one of those ones that I feel like for him, his answer is, why do I need to read it out loud when I can read it in my head?
You gotta go inside.
So it looks like he in person. If you see him and you're like, oh, what does it say? Or read it, it looks like he can't read. Because when he's verbalizing it, it literally it sounds, I don't know, he's like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but if it's something that he is talking about or he sees, like my shirt. I had on a shirt yesterday that said, I don't do mornings. And literally he looked at it and he said, Titi, your shirt says I don't do mornings. Which then does mean he read it in his head. And he was like, hey, I just want you to know that your shirt says I don't do mornings. Like, if I sit him down with a book, it literally sounds like he can't read. And I'm just like, guys, no, he can read. He just
doesn't want to do it.
doesn't want to do it out loud.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Sound effects for the video.
Trying to watch her run around.
Yeah, and then you make a fall.
Yeah, literally. So what else? You have your freebie, which is your 100% workbook, how to prioritize when everything is important with the code rated M100. The code does work.
Yeah. I'm glad you said
yeah. So we'll put this inside of the description. So question, coaching for the working homeschool moms, do you do that like you do that universal, like throughout the world to different moms, or is it just for moms in South Africa?
There are very few homeschoolers here. My audience is like 90% US. We're not massive homeschoolers here. Yeah. So that's why why I kind of have my audiences there, is because when I started homeschooling, there was nobody here. I was like, oh, this is very lonely. So then obviously like the US is where homeschooling is like a longer tradition. Okay, granted, more people are doing it now here in South Africa, but it's a very different, vibe. It's like school at home. It's what people do here more. But
okay.
So like, in America at least, definitely neurodivergent homeschooling, child-led homeschooling, things like that. It's not so common here. So that's why everything, like my audience is 90% US.
So you help more over here in America for other moms.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that's good to put out there for other moms who would like to be helped in the homeschool areas, prioritizing it.
I'm listening, guys. I'm here.
No, I know. I was looking through everything to make sure that I had talked about everything.
I'm definitely over here having a baby doll drink my water cup.
Oh, look, it's called life and kids.
For sure.
Motherhood. Yeah. She's drinking it. Is it good? Oh, yeah. It is good? Oh, I said everything, huh? You want to say thank you?
Yeah, come say thank you.
Come say thank you.
Can you say that?
Say thank you.
You say thank you?
Say thank you for being on our podcast.
You say thank you?
So let me drink the water first. I don't think she's drinking the water. Yeah, she hasn't swallowed her water. It was her smile for me. Rue, Tootie, say thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you. No?
Okay.
Yeah, she's shy today, I guess. Thank you for being on our podcast and giving this great information.
And that's Rated M for Moms podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Like and subscribe.